Wessex started in 2011, but it goes back a bit earlier than that. In 2008, I met what was now my wife, May, who's a Chinese lady. I was obviously going over with her to China, and one day over dinner with one of her friends and her husband, he mentioned he was into golf and he was going to start making golf buggies. He just set that seed in my mind. I want to make tubas. I wonder if I could get them made. And that's really what started the ball rolling for the formation of Wessex. I went round with my wife around various factories in China. She gave her comments as a Chinese person. Like one, it was like, don't use this one, they don't treat their workers very well and are not happy with their quality. So we went around and then selected the factory we wanted to use. Wessex Tubas were formed in 2011. Started off with just one pallet of 4 tubas, and I was selling from my back room at home. It's amazing that it became an international company right from the word go. 2 of the first tubas I sold, one went to Lithuania and one went to Ireland. And at the time I was a business consultant. I went part-time on the business consultancy and continued that at the same time as starting Wessex Tubas. But after just over a year, Wessex Tubas has already grown to an extent that I felt I could give up the consultancy and just go all in on doing what I really loved doing, developing tubas. And one of the things to getting them made in China was I wanted to make good instruments, but make them at a reasonable price so students and all could buy them and buy a decent instrument. Most of the instruments available at that time were either very poorly made or they're exorbitantly expensive, and I wanted to combine that quality with a reasonable price at the same time. And with the factory we selected, I've been working with them ever since. Obviously we couldn't do everything all in one go. We've bit by bit improved the quality over the years to actually try and get to where we really want to be.
And also, I mean, I know that he had opposition. I mean, people were trying to block stuff from happening, you know, without saying too much.
Yes. The company has built up very slowly, bit by bit. Even so, it's quite amazing where it's come in the number of years. It's a very small company compared to all the major brands. Wessex is a very small company.
It's the smallest by a mile. Something also that's really interesting about models like this, and also like the Kaiser that you saw before, is that unique instruments like this, they were often made to order by the manufacturer. So for example, this one is very close to the last one they made in 1967, and it has a 13-inch bell. But in Washington, DC, we saw another original British F, but the bell was considerably bigger. All of them are different, because it was back in the days when you would go to the factory, they'd look you up and down and figure you out. It was much more personalised.
Before Wessex got it, it was a tuba I was looking for years. It was one of the instruments I've always wanted Wessex to make a model of, because it is the British orchestral tuba. This is the tuba that was played in British orchestras from the 1880s up to the 1970s. So this is the British orchestral sound. So I really did want Wessex as a British company to be making this tuba. It's a unique, special sound, but none of the big manufacturers would ever do it.
Yeah, so with this British F tuba, the instrument that we based this on was the last one that was made by the original manufacturer in 1967. And we believe it was played in Welsh National Opera. So this is extremely faithful to the original design, and yeah, I mean, it was literally, the model was dead since 1967. Yeah, hallelujah, it's back. So the instrument I was playing is the prototype. Like, it was the absolute first prototype. But other people just wouldn't address it, but you know.
Well, Wessex is always trying to improve the models. That includes, if we've made changes and they prove to not be a great advantage, we may well revert to previous plans. we're always trying to make the best possible product.
And we do listen to the feedback of customers or fellow tuba players and the musicians that pop out. Like in Washington DC the last few days, we was talking to some people, and you know, I mean, it's like it's really interesting because it's such a personal thing, you know, and like with the instruments, it is like your companion. Through this, maybe you can express yourself more than just by talking or whatever. That's why I believe people play the things. We're always listening to the opinions of people, even if it's just, you know, they come into the booth, they pick it up for 5 minutes and try it, and they just say, oh, did you think about doing this? I mean, of course, sometimes it's, you know, maybe it doesn't make any sense, but other times it will be like, oh, actually, why not just give it a go, see what happens? And that is something that we can do that other places literally can't.
I can literally just change the design, get anything changed, where big companies, they're like a juggernaut that can't turn, and they might know that things could be better by changing it, but they don't change it. Where with Wessex, as soon as we think of a way of making a product better, we do it straight away.
And it really shocks some people because it's not the norm.
We don't always make the best decisions, and lots of this thing is personal assessment. We might have thought it was a good idea to make that change at the time. Sometimes there is consequences to make something easier, then you might have an adverse effect to the tone. So it might be easier to play, but the tone is not quite so good. So we've got to balance it. One of the great things is I can make an instantaneous decision to make something. Although Wessex is a small company, the factory that we're using is the biggest brass factory in the world. So we got the resources of the biggest brass factory in the world to put my concepts into realisation. And over the years, we've been going, apart from COVID, virtually since I would say 2015, on average every 3 months to the factory. So it's been a really regular visits, and we've built up a really close relationship. So it's not so much now just a supplier and a customer, it's now more of a partnership. We work together, and the director of the brass factory would say they owe virtually Wessex entirely to the advancement of the quality of the factory, because all the time I've been pushing and pushing to make this improvement and another improvement, and we won't accept anything that's not up to standard. The whole brass musical instrument industry has benefited through Wessex pushing the standards up. We've now got our own workshop at the factory which manufactures our stuff, but lots of the improvements have obviously been applied to general production as well. But at the same time, the factory still takes far more care with Wessex instruments than anyone else. For example, my last visit, they told me that they spent 3 times as long polishing every Wessex tuba than they do for any other company. And the quality checking is much more thorough. That's because they know we're going to go there and check it, and we're not going to accept it if it's not right. They really will put in that extra bit of effort to make sure it's good. While I've been going to the factory over many years, I've built up a really close relationship with the workers there, and they've become personal friends of mine. It's amazing also, I see while I've been going there, how China has advanced. They have advanced more in 1 decade than most other places in the world have in the last 50 years. It's quite incredible. And the commitment of the factory that's making Wessex to improve is so commendable. In fact, only my last visit, the brass factory director said he will not stop trying to improve until we are the best brass factory in the world. Not just the biggest, but the best. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and social media so that you actually get notification of when we post future videos. Thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing you in future videos.